Greetings and welcome to another episode of Stop Being This Stupid, where we colorfully mock all the nitwits that spurg out in the comment section. An extended edition today, seeing as we have quite a few of them emerging lately for some reason, I don't know why. But before I get into all of that, some things need to be said. We're talking about lefties here, and therefore we must exercise a great quantity of patience. I suspect many of them are cognitively impaired at this point. So let's start with a lesson on social etiquette, because I don't think they happen to have any. So to all of you peasants, if you happen to have a disagreement with me, and you would like me to engage you, you know what would help me? If you give me a fucking example of what you find contentious. Ultimately though, I have zero respect for any of you, and I'll tell you why. I run on pattern recognition, and all of you are dreadfully dull and highly predictable, because every one of you cocking halfwits does the exact same thing every bloody time. And when I see the patterns, I will assume the arrogance that courses through my veins and get condescending, because frankly, none of you unsavory cretins are even worthy of glaring at the ground I walk on. Here's how I do my content, and this is something that I learned from watching and reading Thomas Sowell. The hallmark of a good teacher to me is someone who can break down the complexities into digestible chunks. I always assume I'm the dimmest one in the room, so I'll break it down to the point that even I can understand it. And if you can't understand me after this, I will just assume you're stupid. This is why I hesitate to engage people on the videos that I know I explain things well on. And if they don't, I will just dismiss them as thickos unworthy of my time. And then we get to the worst ones, the ones whose verbal excrement is stuck exclusively in the domain of bitch and moan, like mainstream media talking heads whenever Trump so much as breathes. And oh, suddenly they become proper cranky when you happen to point out that all they bring to the table is an empty plate of fuck all. Seriously, why do all of you sniveling little brats assume you're entitled to my intellectual acumen when you don't even bring any examples of what got your knackers in the twist? If you don't give me any examples, I will make an example out of you. This is why I keep saying leftists are insane and stupid. Let me explain to you all how this looks psychologically. If you don't present an argument, you're inviting hostility. Don't be surprised if people end up berating you. Secondly, you look weak. If you have an argument to present that you think would stand up to scrutiny, you'd present it. But when you don't, and all you do is run your mouth like this antagonistic little asshole, and when you act surprised, all you do is receive hostility, now you look stupid and insane, lacking at the very least self-awareness. This isn't rocket science, mind you. This is basic social etiquette 101 over here. But anyway, we're gonna start off easy here. I don't think I'll be taking my political opinion from a talking spoon either. Political opinion? Well, just the one, is it? Lord, I pray you don't vote. And I should hope not. I'm not here to spoon feed you, no pun intended. I would hope you have a brain, and you don't simply absorb everything I say like I can corrupt the essence of your thinking. Like I said before, I'm a propagandist, but if propaganda is merely information that can steer your thinking in any given direction, well then everything is propaganda. From what you see, to what you read, to what you experience, all of these things are clusters of information that will have an impact on how you see the world. It's very simple. Now, this next one. This one is a doozy. In fact, I'm going to ask all of you to do me a small favor. Before I give my take, I'm going to put it on the screen, and I want you all to pause and read it, alright? Here it is. Now, tell me in the comments section, right? And be honest, how many of you read this and judged the holy hell out of this person? Because I sure as hell did. Listen to this. Love how only Starfield triggered as and all of anti-woke YouTube, but not Baldur's Gate 3, Hogwarts Legacy, Street Fighter 6, and Cyberpunk, all of which fit the anti-woke requirements of woke propaganda. But where were the rage-fueled rants? Right, those are being campaigned against by woke Twitter psychos. Starfield wasn't, so the anti-woke crowd had to go on offensive to drive engagement. On top of that, Az and his fanboys blatantly misrepresented the character Hadrian as trans, when she isn't. Women can't be clones of men. Except Miranda Lawson, X-23, Spider-Woman, Danny Phantom, and Warhammer 40k in the Last Chancellor book, there was a woman who was cloned from a man. When you have to lie, ignore precedent, and remove context to push a narrative, you're officially no better than the people you complain about. Az he's just a grifter on the other side of the aisle. Woke and anti-woke are the same thing to people with common sense. Okay, genuinely the first questions that came to my mind, who hurt you, and is everything alright? Now, I'm praying you're a girl, because if you're a guy and you wrote this, oof, you are projecting a serious case of estrogen bitch energy over here. I don't know who pissed in your Cheerios, mate, but it sure as hell wasn't me. I've not mentioned any of my experiences with these titles because I've never played any of them. In fact, the only name I even recognize there is Miranda from Mass Effect, which I never really bothered with because she's this boring cheerleader who whines all the damn time about the burden of being perfect. I was too busy trying to mount Jack because I find psychotic chicks kind of sexy. Same reason I dug Ari and Omega, by the way. Far as the lacking in rage-fueled rants, go watch Razor Fist then. Like, we're assuming the playing habits of a large group of people here and equal quantities of perturbed, which I don't think is exactly a viable presupposition for the argument here. Do you understand how pressure works out? You can pile it on heavy at first, but when it gets close to breaking point, even the slightest addition could spark a reaction. I didn't even say whether or not I agree with Az, I but explained the context of his ire, very well I might add. I'm just going to assume Az or one of his fans body slammed the crap out of you, and to this day you're still kinda scarred and salty over it. Only viable explanation I have for this over-emotional outburst of a projection over things I never even freaking said. And lastly, woke and anti-woke are the same thing to people with common sense. No one with actual common sense would ever say something this dumb. The fact that it's called anti implies opposite. Do you know how many people are going to laugh and mock you for saying something this stupid? My advice, seek a therapist. So everyone shouldn't listen to these guys on the internet, but they should listen to you. See how that's very much hypocritical. Get off your high horse, mate. No, I don't actually see how that's very much hypocritical, because it isn't. I think you should bother with the people who maintain a sense of coherence and consistency. I know for you lefties that might be a problem because the only time the word consistency is ever used to describe you, it's preceding the word bollocks. I'm just not a fan of people who contort themselves into such a mess of a shape they're practically forfeiting their human rights. And lastly, why should I get off my high horse? So I can roll in the blood and mud with all the other pigs? I'd rather steal 1,000 beggars' change and give it to the rich. And props to you if you recognize that reference. Next up, oh, this one is really fun. You could easily move past and ignore the option. Also, I see in your comments you are proving yourself to be terrible at debates. Fuck off, sir. You just insult him and stop talking to them once they put up an actually compelling point. You also choose to ignore some comments that are extremely well sharpened, arguing against you. See, this is the comment right here that inspired the community note, by the way. So I'll just read what I wrote. No, they aren't. They all suck. If they can't understand the basic premise, they are pleb-brain nitwits who don't understand power. They're egotists. Someone has to have the superior brain in the situation, and that's me. Also, just because you think they have a well-reasoned argument does not mean they actually do. I am far smarter than the idiotic comments, and I know when I'm dealing with imbeciles. More than 20 IQ points difference to the wisdom will be lost on the peasantry. We're well past the 20-point gap here. Do you see now why I said at the start with the pattern recognition? Same thing every bloody time. There's never any examples of where I am wrong. Again, these idiots never present any arguments, and yet they feel so entitled to my time and effort. Bunch of scrounging peasants. Also, lying is bad, don't lie. Now, this next one, I want to highlight this person in particular. Whatever happened to enjoying a game because it was just simply something you like playing and leaving all of the ideas of alternative motives out the door? I'm here to shoot the shit for 3 or so hours and get away from work. Not hearing two sides of some political argument, doing that gives either side more power because you're giving it exposure. Just play the damn game, and if there's something you don't like, crazy idea here, ignore it. What a fantastic world of blissful ignorance this person lives in. A delightful place where ignoring problems make them go away. Wouldn't that be a nice world to live in, where we're all clearly drugged out of our gore? Secondly, have you tried following your own advice and just ignoring the Twitter and YouTube videos? I mean, if you're playing the game, surely you're not bothering with Twitter and YouTube videos. Unless you happen to have the multitasking skill set of a schizophrenic autist or something. No one is forcing you to watch and engage with it, yet you yourself have voluntarily done so, and now you're complaining about it. If you genuinely enjoy a game, then why the hell are you bothered by what everyone else is thinking about it? Am I the only one who finds this line of reasoning kind of stupid? Apparently people don't understand the phrase incrementalism, which is what is happening here. Ignoring it does not make it go away, it will just snowball. Now the reason I wanted to highlight this one in particular is because in the previous comment, where they were just pissing and moaning about my lack of etiquette dealing with the unworthy peasants who never present me with a bloody argument, they said this. Glad someone noticed this. At this point, the way this dude talks is a fucking character. Yes, well done. None of his points make sense, and his arguments half the time are calling people peasants. Only if they're being peasants, otherwise no I don't. Like, are we back in the 16th century, or are you trying to be an anime villain? Well, neither, unless the villains in your world happen to make you think. Simple answer to people like this, ignore him after the first attempt, let him enjoy his shitty 31k views. They seem kinda salty, don't they? None of my points make any sense, do they? That's funny because when I responded to your comment that ignoring problems don't make them go away, you said this. While you are correct sometimes, you gotta know the line of what's worth arguing about. Personally, I am not one for the debates of identity politics. There are so many topics I feel I should put my energy into defending. So before it was I am correct, but on somebody else's comment you drop the mask and tell us what you really feel. Almost like you need somebody else to piggyback on because you're too sackless to even write what you really think, you feckless coward. Heaven's sake, in your own comment, you're whining about other people complaining, and yet when I tell you ignoring the problems don't make them go away, you tell us you're not one for the debates of identity politics. Why the hell are you here then? Take your own advice, just play your game and shut the fuck up then! My lord, what the hell is wrong with these people? Cheers for watching, and once again, I apologize for nothing.